right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, glory, and honor that's due to Yahawashi, Yahawashi, Bahashim, Rachahakodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the great millstone who rule well, and peace and blessings to the 144,000 and the hopeful elect. Shalom, Barakatham. The title of this is, if you don't suffer like Yahawashi, then you will not be glorified like Yahawashi, all right? And I want to speak, this is based on the precept of Romans, the 8th chapter, Romans 8 and 17, where it speaks about, you know, us being joint heirs with him. And you got to meditate on what that means when you're joint heirs. If you think about a business, all right, you have something called equity in a business. Now, you don't get to just get equity in something if you don't put any work in to it, man, you know? And if somebody gives you equity, it's usually like your pops or your father or something hands down the business to you, and he gives it to you as an inheritance. But if you're starting a business from the ground up, which is what this is going to be, this new kingdom, the new Jerusalem, all right, you got to put in equity, man. You got something called sweat equity in the business world, right? Where you don't necessarily have money per se, but you know enough and expertise, and you do a lot of the work and the labor of putting things together. And they'll say, okay, boom, here's a percentage, you know, and just to carry that over to the scriptures, that's the situation that we have, man. You know, we have to suffer like the Lord suffered, and if you don't have the mindset to want to suffer and to want to endure those things the same way the Lord did, then the chances of you being glorified with him are slim to none. Does the Lord have his favorites that he has more mercy on than others? Yes, but those men are far and few in between, man. And ultimately, the Lord can see something in those spirits that you can't. You know, you look at a man's average everyday life and his walk, and you try to judge him based on that. But the Lord knows us individually, man. You know, not all Israelites are created equal, okay? Because the Lord was an Israelite, okay? And we're definitely not on his level, all right? So you got to walk with humility in this thing and have the same mindset that King David had, man. He said, I'd be grateful to be a doorkeeper in the kingdom of heaven, you know? But did that slow him down from doing righteous works? Absolutely not, man, okay? The King David followed the Lord to the T, except for the matters of Bathsheba, Bathsheba and, numbering Israel, man. He had his moments where he went off, you know, but by and large, he was a righteous king, man, okay? And the Lord loved David, you know, and David stood as the proof of how you navigate the flesh, where we're prone to go off, and it shows you that the spirit, if the spirit in you is right, you always overcome, because David overcame all of those things. And that's the spirit that we got to be in, man. Don't let your sins weigh you down. You know, don't let the things that you have shortcomings, vices in here, these things are there. Definitely work on them. You know, but focus on your spirit being upright and doing this thing with sincerity, man. You know, because we want to, as it says in the New Testament, you know, blessed is he that is found so doing. I believe that's in Luke. All right, and that's what we want to be doing, man. You know, that's why we're constantly watching and doing videos. But you got to have the mindset to suffer, because if you don't, then you're basically in a roundabout way saying that you're better than the Lord, you know, because the Lord incarnated into the flesh. That's the spirit 4414 AFF, call Lord. You know, you see, you know, you're in a roundabout way. You're saying that you're better than the Lord because the Lord incarnated into the flesh. You know, read the book of Hebrews, man. Okay, he was made the same way as his brethren was. That means he was subject to the same demons, the same carnal temptations as we were, but he walked the line perfectly. He showed us that it could be done because the spirit in him was on that level, all right? He's the only begotten son of Yahweh, man, but he showed us that it could be done, and he came down, and he suffered grievous tortures, you know, torture, you know? He suffered being humiliated, okay? He suffered his own people turning against him, choosing a wicked individual over him, knowing who he was, man, after doing miracles, you see? So when you meditate on the things that are going on in your own life, man, you got to remember that we are one body, man, okay? And we got to suffer this thing just like the Lord got to suffer, because we want the same glory. Now, the Lord did his part. He's already glorified on the right-hand side of the Most High. He's coming back to consummate the marriage, so to speak, meaning he's coming back to the bed chambers, okay? But the marriage is already set up, man. It's already a done deal. He just got to come back and take his crowns and establish order in the earth. All right. So he's glorified already. We're fighting to be a part of that glory. Again, joint heirs. Okay. That means we're gonna have equity in the kingdom. All right. The scriptures, the Yahawashi said that in Revelation, I will make you a pillar. Okay. In my God's kingdom. All right. That's a glorious thing, brothers. A pillar is something that's one of that's a structure, a load-bearing structure, man. Okay, a load-bearing structure. It's integral. That's where the word integrity goes into. Okay, it's integral to the whole building being held up. You want to be a part of that, man. That goes into the 144,000 governing body, man. All right. Now, will all Israelites be saved? Yeah, they will. Eventually in the kingdom when they're reborn, but you're not going to have the same glory, okay? If you don't want to go through suffer. All of these guys that are sold out, all of these guys, it was too much, or it wasn't sexy enough, or they don't get it, or they just got impatient, or they got tired, or they got offended or emotional, whatever it was, you didn't have it in you to suffer, then you're gonna take these comforts that you're getting right now, and that's gonna be it, man. You're gonna be good in the kingdom, but you're not going to get that glory, man. And that's ultimately what we want to strive for. That's what we encourage all brothers to strive for, man. You know, you want to be a part of the 144,000 or the 1/3 elect, okay, who are part of the first resurrection, who when the second Ezra said they were commended, man, you know, said he commended them. Why did Ezra commend us? You know, Lord willing, we be of that number. Why did he commend us for doing those things, for standing stiffly for the Lord? So this thing is going to require some grit. It's gonna require some pain tolerance. You know, it's gonna require some thought, some discipline. Okay, it's gonna require some sincerity, some diligence. You know, because this is the end of the greatest destruction that the world has ever seen. Okay, that's what we're on the precipice of. Okay, this is the end of the 12,000 year part, and you're in it, man. You're part of this story. So you gotta put prayers up, man, and fervently pray that you have it in you to be on the right side of history in the book of life. All right, and it just starts with not knowing all of the precepts, the best way of being the best speaker or doing the most videos. It goes back to just being a righteous, willing servant of the Lord, putting your best foot forward, man. And if you're doing that, then that the fruit of that will be that you're diligent, you're doing videos, you're doing shows, you're being brotherly, okay, you're being charitable, okay, you're holding things to you're holding yourself accountable, you're holding your brethren accountable. You know, those are the fruits that bear out of a righteous man. And so it's a constant examination of those things, and that's what we're pressing for, because we are definitely at the end of this thing, man. You know, I was upset earlier today because my video got all jacked up, you know, because of this echo or something on the video and the sound. And I said, but you know what, the Lord still reads the effort there, you know. You know, it's okay. You know, the Lord just wants you to just keep at this thing and keep swinging, man. And that's fully what I intend to do, man. You know, every brother work out their own salvation with fear and trembling, and be encouraged, man, because we don't have nothing to be ashamed about, man. These people got to be ashamed about things, you know. Well, I'll end it there, man. Call hello, Yahawashi, Yahawashi, Bahashim, Shalom. On to the next.